salt are good for you. We have the next mom. And you know how there are those women that you meet sometimes that sort of scare the bejesus out of you? Because they're so cool. They got their shit together. And they're competent and confident and calm. And they're all of those things. And I'm like, oh shit. I don't think I can be your friend. And then you find out that they're just a really down-to-earth, funny person that you want to sit and drink wine with. That would be this next mom. I would like to welcome Heather, and I'm going to pronounce the last name wrong, Heather Kashner.
Stand up straight? Okay. Are you a mom? Hi everyone. It's true, I can't see you. This is fantastic. Okay, so first, before I start, I want to say thanks, Beth, and all the moms who have wildly entertained me tonight, and all of you. Give them After me, there are two more great moms that are coming up to tell you funny stories, so just bear with me for just a couple minutes. I'll be really short. So, Beth, it was really sweet that you said that I was cool. My opening comment about wanting to be a mother was that I was never particularly fashionable, and now I get the opportunity to wear my 12-year-old kid's LL Bean jacket. What do you think? Looking good, right? Okay, so my mom's stories are all about brushes with institutions. Maybe law enforcement, maybe not, we'll find out. So my first story, short one, so in 2011, November, my son and my daughter and I moved back from Uganda after living abroad for 4 years. And we had owned our house here since like 2005, so we've been kind of coming and going like 6 weeks a year, sort of, from 2005 to 2011. But we didn't really know a soul, right? Like, you know, we were the people who live here shunned because we were here only temporarily. I'm sorry I clogged your traffic. I don't understand still the way the turns work. Someday, a few more years. Anyhow, so we moved back. Immediately, I have to start getting ready to go back to work here. I've been working over there. I'm going back to work here. And kind of like this event tonight, like it feels like life just sort of sandwiches between work and motherhood. And so that's sort of what I was doing, and finding childcare and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I get my kids signed up for the Y. And they've been here like 3 weeks or so, and it's Christmas vacation, and we're having fun. And my 5-year-old boy is very boisterous. Some of you may know him. He's got a lot of energy. And so he's excited, and he likes to like a lot of boys, like how many of you have boys or nephews? So they like to be a little rough and tumble and kind of get into it and stuff. So my son is excited, and he's like shadow boxing mom, right? And it's great. He's having a good time. I'm laughing. But I notice, for reasons I will never understand, that he's punching like this, and he's breaking his wrist. And once upon a time, I took karate, and I was like, oh, that's very dangerous. Not, oh, maybe shadow boxing, not a good idea. I wonder how he's going to use that. No, I wasn't that mom. I was the, oh, but if he like punches somebody like this, he's going to break his wrist. I've got to fix that. So I pay attention. I'm like, okay, buddy, so I don't want you to get hurt. Like if you're going to punch mommy, like you really want to straighten up that wrist. I wore this cuff, and it was stupid because I knew I was going to tell the story. What the hell is this? Anyhow, that's bad at fashion. So I'm like teaching him and whatever, and we're playing. And I say, okay, you're obviously not getting this because he's still doing this. Let me show you. Yeah. Who did the sharp intake of breath? You know it's coming. Good job. Did you do this too? So I go bing, bing, bing. My son leans in. Pow! Right in the face. Immediate tears, right? Crying, fat lip. I go into mom mode, right? Like, and my first concern is, oh, I've hurt my child. Nice job, Mom. The next realization is, oh shit, that lip's getting really fat. Oh, that's gonna leave a mark. Oh, I've only been here 3 weeks. Oh, my kid's gotta go to preschool tomorrow. These people don't know me. I don't have any friends here. I've just moved here from a foreign country. I'm an American, but can I get deported? What's going on? So I'm strategizing now by myself. What do I do? Do I just pretend that this didn't happen? Do I tell him to make up a story about what happened, that his mom didn't really punch him in the face, he fell down the steps? Is that what I do? I fell down the steps? No, I've seen that in a movie. That didn't end well. Okay, so I'm like, oh God, I gotta do this. I gotta figure this out. I gotta figure this out. I don't want to get arrested. I don't want my children taken away from me. Meanwhile, my husband is in Libya, like, working for a year, and like, he's obviously not getting involved in this situation. He has bigger things going on. Rebellion, all kinds of things. So, small things. So I decide, all right, I'm gonna own up, I'm gonna email, and I'm gonna explain the situation to the wife, and say, I didn't mean it, but I punched my son in the face. I was just trying to teach him how to throw a decent punch. I'm really sorry. I promise he won't hurt anybody at your school. And please don't call social services. No one did. I mean, I didn't even get an email back. I didn't know actually what to make of that. I was like, so am I good? Is this good? Am I worried? Shouldn't somebody be visiting me? I don't know. I thought law enforcement was a thing in this country. Anyway, so fast forward. So that was first brush with law enforcement. Not years later, I feel like I have a file like in Camden, like that's the mom, like the other moms are kind of like, Beth said, oh, she was too cool to be friends with. It's really because this file is floating around and you're like, oh no, not that mom. It's kind of amazing that she lets our sons hang out. So fast forward, my daughter is Ugandan and is adopted. And so now we've just moved back and I've got to get, our adoption is not final. In Uganda, the way adoption works is if you live there, you have to foster for 3 years in country before you can legally file adoption. And my husband got reposted and we lost our status. We couldn't finalize adoption. The embassy said, you know, well, like, you're on a visitor's visa, take her home, you can start the process. For a while, my daughter was a dreamer because we had her illegally in this country because the adoptive process, completing the adoptive process in the United States takes longer than the visa that she was actually eligible to be here on. So, yeah, it's a complicated story, that whole dreamers thing, but that's serious business for another time. So we're going through this process. Again, my husband is like gone a lot. And we're being reviewed by social services. Now imagine this for a minute. You've been parenting a child for like 2.5, almost 3 years now. Social services is visiting you on the regular, and at the end of it, they decide, do you get to keep your child? How many of you would get to do it? I was like, ooh, this could be bad. So last social social service visit, my daughter, who is now 3, and I don't believe in the terrible 2s. I don't know about your experience, but actually it's 3s.
Yeah.
3. Like, oh, look at all the moms are like, oh, hell yeah, man. Their heads are spinning around. Satan is popping out of their mouth every single day. So my daughter is having one of these like epileptic episodes, and she can scream for like 3 hours at a go. Like scream at the top of her lungs. Finally, we're like T-minus 3 minutes from the social worker, and I'm like, you've got to go in your room. So she goes in her room, her brother goes in the room with her, like she's still freaking out, banging on the door. No sooner does the social service lady like walk in the door, dead silence. And I'm thinking, did he kill her? What's happening? Fortunately, it was Rita. Rita is kids are really funny. I think the best thing about motherhood is all of the things that it teaches you about how clever we are and just our collective humanity. It's really funny. Rita, very attuned to her own survival, is like, oh, you know what? This lady, I like the cookies. I'm going to keep her. I'm going to like lock this up for a minute. Social service lady's there for like 25 minutes. Rita goes right back to it. No sooner. But so now, obviously, it's been years, and we have her. I have 2 kids, and then this last story is about my nephew. And so they never tell you how many opportunities that you have to interact with law enforcement or institutional government as a mom until you're in it, right? Well, so my sister gave birth to my nephew, Wesley, and at age 2, he was diagnosed with autism. A lot of kids now it's an increasing diagnosis, and he's pretty severe, actually, on the spectrum, and they live in Arizona, so they qualify for a lot of services, but like they also have to have a lot of monitoring. So Wesley is now 7, going to be 8, and you know, he's developing a little late, but he's sort of discovering all the things. And so a couple weeks ago, I just added this story, it's kind of random. A couple weeks ago, my sister calls me and goes, guess what? What? I had to leave work. Wesley did something crazy. I said, what happened? Is he okay? She said, yeah, it's a little awkward. I feel like I might lose my support person who teaches him and stuff. Really? What happened? He's like, did she do something to him? Well, no, she called me. She was really upset and embarrassed. I said, why? She said, well, she couldn't quite get it out at first. She said, Wesley's stuck. I said, what do you mean Wesley's stuck? She said, well, he was stuck in one of those hanger things. How many of you guys have those, when you have a closet rod and then you have those hanger things and you stick the other hangers in it so they hang down so it makes more room on the rod. And you know how they have those little tiny holes in the, somebody, way to get ahead. You guys are so good. So they have these little tiny holes in them about yay. Can you get that with the light right there? That's not very big. So my nephew, Wesley, the service, she said, well, Wesley's stuck, can you please come home? She says, I'm working. My sister takes care of people with disabilities. Allie says, I'm working, I can't come home right now. She goes, no, you need to come home. There's nothing I can't do. This is a mother of 5 children, apparently all girls, that is caring for Wesley. So she's like, no, you have to come home. There's nothing I can do about this. I might have to take him to the emergency room. So Allie gets home to come to find out that Wesley has stuck his penis in one of the little holes in the hanger. Can't get it out. Mom of girls, no idea what to do with this situation, also doesn't understand why it's happening. What is wrong with your child? And so Allison then, of course, had to get some lube, which didn't really help the situation at first, but then did, thank God. Wesley's free. That woman is never coming back to her. That's never going to happen. So those are my 3 stories with brushes with institutions. I have to say, in closing, I guess this isn't really funny. I don't really think I'm that funny. The thing that I love most about motherhood, I mean, beyond the obvious, my children, actually is the other moms. Like, at the end of the day, like, you could be having perhaps the worst month of your life, and like, the other moms are gonna hold you down. And like, when you're freaking out, they're gonna hold you down. When like shit's at its lowest, they're gonna bring you up. And the reason why I agreed to do this is not because I'm funny. It's because I really wanted to be a part of something that lifted up moms. Yes. And the way thanks to my mom posse over there for holding me down the last month. All right, take care, have a great night.